at the end of the day, when I'm there, I'm looking in the eyes of those children that are in there, and I want to see them have a better life.
But it's still day to day, isn't that? It's going to be day to day.
It actually is day to day. And sadly, he's fallen, but we're still there for him.
Yeah.
And that's my favorite part about it.
And how often when we get involved in this, looking to help somebody, do we find some answers for ourselves also? You're listening to Wonderful Life with Tom Rohr. From Rogers to Bedford Falls, from Fayetteville to Pottersville, we're discovering how one person's life can have an effect on so many others. My guests today are Brandy Hayward, Richie Haraturan, and Shay Dimel. They believe one meal, one person, one lifetime at a time is a way for them to help and be the hands of Jesus. Welcome.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Thank you.
Thank you.
It's good to have you here. This is our first podcast where we've actually had 3 people. It's usually 1, but we're really looking forward to getting to meet all of you. Brandy, why don't we start with you? Why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and your family?
I'm married to a wonderful man, John Hayward. We have 3 children, and we are a very blended family, kind of a one of mine, one of his, and one of ours. We met about 11 years ago. That was the change of my history, at least. Came from a very broken background. A lot of heartbreak and history that a lot of the people who live in homelessness experience. And so that's where my connection to this lifestyle is, and my heart really aches for them. And I know that there's a lot of hope in what we do. I remember one time years ago when I was living a lifestyle like that, there was a ministry that would drive through the alleyways and just kind of play some music and let all the residents in the area know that they were there, and they were passing out food bags. And at the time, I was not really interested in what they had to say, but I heard it and I really just wanted the food. Fast forward years later, I just remember that experience, and I know how important a food ministry can be, because they may not be there to hear it at the time. They may just be there to eat, but they're still going to hear it. They're still going to feel the love, and there's still hope.
Mm-hmm. So, Brandy, are you originally from Northwest Arkansas, or did you grow up someplace else?
I am not. I grew up in California, Bakersfield, California.
Okay. How'd you get to Northwest Arkansas?
My mother married a man who was from Little Rock, actually, and I met my husband in Little Rock, and his wonderful family is actually from Northwest Arkansas.
Okay. Well, good. Mm-hmm. Well, it's very nice to meet you, and we're excited to talk about your ministry.
Thank you.
All right, Richie, how about you?
So my name is Richie Haraturan. I grew up in New Jersey. I am married currently. My wife's name is Heather. We have 2 children together. We are also a blended family. I have a daughter in Louisiana. We met I actually lived in Florida at the time, and I flew out for a wedding in Dallas. And that's where we met. And my wife was actually in ministry at the time. So she was doing missions work in Cambodia, where she was working with trafficked children in Cambodia, and she was teaching dance and ballet. So we met, we married, and we lived in Dallas for about 5 years, and then I came to Northwest Arkansas about 3 years ago. And so I've been here for 3 years. You know, I connected with New Heights Church, and through that church, I was able to open up myself to some other ministries. And I had the privilege of meeting these ladies here who needed a little bit of assistance. And at the time, I was looking for something to do from a volunteer basis. And a little bit about my history as my childhood, you know, I've had a lot of situations with food insecurities as well. Cooking and having food around was like one of my priorities in my life. So I always said that no matter what I did, I was always going to make sure that I had food on the table. You know, cooking became a passion for me, and I did that for and I still do it today. And so when I had the opportunity to work with these ladies, I was out there for the first time, and I experienced it from a service perspective. And I think I found another part of my passion and a calling, and just to be there and just to see the reaction on people's face when their food insecurities for themselves are able to be met. And it's just a joyful experience. So currently, we're still here. And my wife she has a ballet school here as well too, that she's doing Sugar Plum Studios. And so, she's sticking with what she knows well, and my life has changed a little bit, and career wise, and I've been putting a lot more time into my service work.
Okay. Now, Richie, where do you work?
Currently, I just do some small contracting jobs for myself, and so just some neighborhood stuff that I've been working on. I was in the automotive industry for quite some time, probably about the majority, maybe about 14 years.
Okay. And what'd you do in that industry?
So I worked in service, in the service departments for quite some time. And here in Arkansas, I was an assistant director for a large auto group and running 16 stores.
Wow.
But I felt like, after a certain amount of time that I wanted to have a little bit more value to my life in reference to not just monetary things, but as well as my family time and serving the community. So prayed about it, and these doors opened up, and so far it's we've been taken care of.
Yeah. So in your contract work right now, what do you specialize in, or what do you most like to do?
Well, I just put out some business cards out there, and so I called the business Handy Harry, because my last name is Harry Turan. And so I just do basic handyman work. So anything that you need done in your home, from pressure washing to painting to, minor landscaping. I do stonework as well. I've been finding a lot of joy and peace in that as well.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Well, hey, as in Northwest Arkansas, as fast as things are growing, it's great to know some handy people. Yeah. So we'll make sure that we have your contact information in our show notes.
Fantastic.
All right, Shay.
So my name's Shay Dimel. I grew up in Rogers, went to high school here. Then I went to college, where I met my husband. We finished college. He decided to pursue further education. So then we moved to Little Rock. I worked there full time as a hairdresser. I decided to go to beauty school in between after college.
Okay.
And then when we moved to Little Rock for his schooling, I did hair. From there, we went to Rochester, Minnesota for more of his schooling. And I had my two little ones up there. So we were up there for 4 years. And then from there, we went to Salt Lake City, Utah. more of his schooling. Yeah. And then we moved back here. That journey was very difficult. And I struggled with a lot of mental health issues. And so that's kind of what led me to this ministry, is because I wanted a way to give back and to focus on others.
Mm-hmm. Now, did you have a good experience along the way? I mean, someone who helped you?
No.
Okay.
I mean, I have family support and stuff, but
right.
A lot of it was on my own because I was away from family and friends and stuff. And so
so as you moved around, you had to reacclimate yourself to a place where you didn't know people.
So once I got out of that place and started to heal, and then I wanted to reach out to those that were struggling, and whether it be from food insecurities, loneliness, depression, anxiety. That's where my heart is. And I've always had a heart for people experiencing homelessness too. I mean, I've got a memory growing up in Rogers. Like back then, you really didn't see homeless people very much. But I have a vivid memory of a family on the side of the road with their kids with a sign, and they had their little ones with them. And I was in high school, and it just took my breath away because you just don't see that. You didn't see that back then. And coming back here, invest back in my community that I was raised.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, are you still in the hair business?
I'm not. No, I work for my husband now.
Okay.
So all his schooling he's a physician. So we had to do 9 years of medical education.
Sure.
So now I work with him part-time.
Okay, very good. Now, what kind of physician is he?
He is a sports and spine physician.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, that sounds very interesting.
Yeah.
Well, and I love the fact that, all three of you have firsthand experience one way or another in your ministry. So your ministry is called Hometowne Suites Ministry. And my understanding is that it's relatively new. Same question for all three of you. You've already talked a little bit about motivation for getting involved, but tell us a little bit about the Hometowne Suites Ministry.
Actually, we feed NWA. It is a ministry where we meet at the Hometowne Suites Motel in Bentonville.
In Bentonville? Mm-hmm. Where is that located in Bentonville?
That is on Rainbow Curve, Suburban Lane. We meet there every Tuesday. Various organizations throughout the community, whether it be businesses or churches, will host a meal for the evening, and while they're there hosting the meal and feeding the community that lives there quite regularly or is even moving in and out due to work, we get to know the residents. We just kind of build relationships and see if there's anything in the community that may help them or even just love on them where they are.
Okay. So tell us a little bit about the community. Mm-hmm. And I guess I can open this up to all three of you. My understanding is this particular ministry is connected with 8th Street in Rogers. What's the dynamic? What's the situation? What's the need? 8th Street or your ministry? Why is it needed?
Sure. So 8th Street Hotel was started where they are because of a couple of organizations that are very familiar with child abuse and domestic abuse had found out that this was a location in Rogers that had a high crime rate. So we basically followed the same wheel that they had started their ministry with and visited the police department and asked them of areas that had a high crime rate, child crimes, women crimes, and we really wanted to dive deep into that area. In doing that, that's how we ended up at Hometowne Suites.
Okay. So you determine the location based upon crime rates in a place where are folks that are traveling through the area? Are
Highly transient, yes.
Okay.
They're either there because of work. Work will be bringing them here from all over the United States, even sometimes outside of the world. Thank you to, some of our large companies. But then there's also a other side to that location where they are living there because they cannot afford to get out. They do not have other cheaper options of places within their local area to choose from to live. And so once they move in there, they kind of get stuck. The rental amount is higher than they would typically pay at an apartment complex or a house.
And so they choose to live there because it's more temporary, or they're limited on how much funds they have at that time, or...
It could be a few of those reasons, or there's just not enough
affordable housing.
Okay.
Or they get stuck in that hotel cycle where they're paying $280, a week. And so all of their income, if they're working poor, like if they pay $10 an hour, if they get paid $10 an hour, they work 40 hours a week, once they get stuck in that cycle of that hotel, they're paying their whole income, and they don't have money to save up to get out, to save for the security deposits, that you're going to have to pay to get a rental, to start up utilities and stuff like that. So they get stuck and they can't. It's hard for them to find for affordable housing in the Bentonville area anyways, in Northwest Arkansas. And then, to try to save up the money when they're spending it all on hotels, just to keep a roof over their head.
And that's their motivation. They want to get a roof over their head.
Exactly.
And that's a place that'll get them through that particular day. And then they get caught
stuck
in that cycle.
Yes, sir.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So are there a lot of places like this in Northwest Arkansas?
If it's a low rent hotel, yes.
Their business model is to serve people who are short-time guests or medium-time guests that are just looking for a roof over their heads.
Mm-hmm. And they actually advertise towards no credit check, no deposit fees, no utilities.
Mm-hmm.
So, Richie, relative to your experience and your motivation in getting involved here, what are some of the things that you've noticed as far as the dynamics of the people that you serve?
So as far as that's concerned, I mean, some of my motivation is because growing up too, I fit some of the profiles of the dynamics of the people that I serve. I just believe that sometimes when God calls you, he takes you deeper. He takes you deeper, not just for your own self. So, what I see sometimes is we've got people in situations where we have emotional abuse, mental abuse, physical abuse. I myself have experienced those things. I'm also a recovering alcoholic. I've been sober. I'm going on 14 years, July 31st. And, it's all because of the grace of God. And so when you get to that point and you see these things that are going on, you can't help but want to be there for them because of the fact that you now have a different set of eyes to look at. You can see a little bit deeper into situations. You can understand what some of these families are going through. And it's not just about the family. I mean, some of it can be, some of the stuff that I find, it stems back from their childhood, like myself, and they're doing what they know and what they were taught to do. And so we're hoping to be able to give them an avenue to start learning something different, and to start doing things differently, because at the end of the day, when I'm there, I'm looking in the eyes of those children that are in there, and I want to see them have a better life.
So, Shay, if you were to talk about the ministry and just some bullet points relative to what you want to offer the people through your ministry, what are the things that you want to offer those folks? Right.
Well, so first and foremost is definitely the meal. That's what gets them down there chit-chatting with us, the connection, breaking bread together. And from there, that's where it all starts. We want to make connections with people and meet them where they're at, see what their needs are. We've got people who are in need of housing, so we connect them with that. People needing jobs. We have liaisons in the community that help us to connect people with jobs, where to send them. Transportation, that's always an issue. I mean, a lot of the residents there don't have transportation, so just finding... So
they don't have a car,
no,
and
sir.
Because they don't have a car, they're limited on where they can work.
Absolutely.
Because how do they get there and how do they get back?
Exactly. I mean, we had a gentleman who walked an hour to work, and then he walked an hour back, and I don't know how long he'd been doing that until we met him, and there's a local nonprofit in the area that provides bikes, so we got him a bike, and I mean, the difference that made for that man... It was amazing. He was so grateful. Sorry, I'm such a crier. He was so grateful. So, yeah, I mean, just trying to figure out what the needs are and connecting them with resources in our community, because there's so many. And, and we even have resources to get them out of the hotel. If they can't come up with the funding, we can be there and assist in those things as long as they are working, trying to better themselves. We want to give them a hand up, and more of a hand up than a handout to get them.
Okay. And that's one of the wonderful things about this location is the majority of those people are actually working. Yeah. I mean, they're paying a rent in their eyes. They're just stuck where they are.
Right. So, but financially it's challenging because they're really paying a premium for what they're getting as far as accommodations go. Mm-hmm. Yeah. All right. So, Brandy, talk to us a little bit about, what the goal would be for an individual. We can talk hypothetical. So you're serving a meal, you're helping them with jobs and transportation. What would be a standard goal as you're getting to meet somebody within your ministry?
I think that our main standard goal is to just meet them, get to know them. By getting to know them, just, know their name, know their living situation, know if they want something more or if they don't want something more. And regardless of their decision in that area, just still being available and being a friend and having, a positive outlook on life, on how to handle situations that they encounter.
So, Richie, when you're meeting someone where they are in this situation, tell me about the importance of that personal contact.
The personal contact That's very important. We've got all walks of life coming through that door. You've got repeat offenders from prison. I've got guys coming in from LA, that lived in Compton, for example, or, just different people. However, when you're approaching that situation, you can't look through it with the eyes of someone who's judging the character of a person or judging the book by the cover, if I could say, because of the way they look or the tattoos on their body or anything, because you'll find that they have passion, they have a heart. So when I'm approaching particular situations, I'm more engaging about myself. And so the first thing I do is I try to connect at whatever level I need to be by telling my story, by sharing a little bit of my own story. And I find in there somehow there's a weave, and there's a connection, and then everything else is put aside at that point. And then our conversations start very, very minimally. And then as we continue to grow and we continue to show our faces, more and more conversation comes up. And then, before you know it, they're asking a little bit about God. They're asking about, well, what did you do different? And that's the keys. And that's what we're looking for. The meal is a great thing. I mean, it's there for satisfaction, but feeding is a broad spectrum, and that's,
it's a communal thing.
It's a very communal thing. And and Jesus himself did that, and so there's a deeper meaning behind it, but like I said, it's just important to look into the eyes of a person, to see a little bit deeper into their soul, and not just, look at the exterior clothing and skin colors or anything else. You got to put all that aside and, and just approach, because when one person, one soul connects to another soul, there's a deeper meaning behind that.
So I want you to talk a little bit, if you would, about your own personal experience, because it sounds like you've had some experience where someone's done that to you.
Yeah.
And so you don't have to get into the details of where you were at that time.
Yeah.
But if you would talk a little bit about how that made a difference in your life, that someone, looked you in the eye and was interested in you where you are at that time.
Yeah, that's a great question. There was a time in my life where I didn't know Jesus. I didn't even pick up a Bible. I took a course at the School of Practical Philosophy at NYU because, I was looking at the world from an atheistic view. I thought it was always about me. And I think during the course of that time, I had come up against certain trials, tribulations, I should say. And now that I look back on it, I can see that God had put specific people in my life because I had come through certain things. And, I want to take a good stand at the, at some of the things that I mentioned earlier. So my addiction, somehow I got led into those rooms where people surrounded me with love. They didn't look at me as just another kid with a drinking problem, or an addiction issue. They really showed me love. So in the rooms there, and then even as I grew, I needed to work on other things. So once I got past that, and I put the medication away, is what I call it. Okay. Then some of the things started to surface that I had to deal with: the emotional stuff, the physical stuff, and the mental concerns. And so there again, another person was put in my life that became more of a life coach to me. And then, as I continued with that and I got to share, it allowed me to help grow. And, my wife has been a great source of that too. I mean, I got blessed with a great wife who's very supportive of me. We grow together, and also have the church group now. And as my fellowship continues and I continue to grow and I open my heart more to others, okay, it seems like I'm being surrounded with more support and more support. So, it's very important, to stay connected, but I feel it's also very important to find that place where you're comfortable sharing what's really going on inside. Because I think once you expose those things to the light is when you start to heal. And then when you start to heal, then God is able to use you to start working with others.
It's a beautiful story. All right. So, Shay, I have a question for you. You talk about one of the ways that you found this particular ministry place was talking to the police, and it was a place where it was high crime.
Mm-hmm.
So how does that play into your ministry? Or does it limit you, or is that's just part of the story?
I guess I don't understand.
So I know you all three of you kind of talked about how these were, high crime rates.
Right.
I mean, is there any danger involved in that? So I can't see things through your eyes, and it sounds like you're going to the center of the opportunity, which is where that is taken care of. Does that limit you? Is it people who volunteer here that's a deterrent from them being involved?
We have safety.
There are people with criminal background and stuff like that. I've never felt worried or anything like that.
Okay.
Definitely have to be careful about what we do, where we go and stuff like that. But the people are amazing, they've got criminal backgrounds, but that doesn't make them, not all of them do, but there is a.
Yeah.
And when you don't walk in prying and asking them why they are where they are, and you're just like, hey, would you like to come have a meal with us? And
Okay.
Yeah.
So the reality of that is not really part of the ministry. That's just the reality of the folks that you're serving.
Mm-hmm.
So Brandy, I know you have various groups that support you, particularly with the meal aspect of that. Can you tell us about them and how they support you?
We actually have, Shay and I have hit the streets, as we call it, in Bentonville and visited churches, local churches of Bentonville. We really encourage the Bentonville community to love on their own community. We especially want to thank our home church, New Heights Bentonville, as well as First Baptist of Bentonville, Cross Church, Keypoint Church, a few of the other organizations and businesses within Bentonville, as well as Mercy, Hark, Restoration Village, Child Advocacy Center. Thank you for being such wonderful mentors in this process. We also talk to other communities such as Rogers and ask them to also invest in the Rogers 8th Street ministry. And really, so what we do is we meet with the owners or the pastors, the leaders of the church, and tell them what we do there, that we're, the meal is just a vehicle. We give them the why we're there. And they really want to be there too. They love it. They love engaging. They love feeding. And they love making a difference. And so, there has been a dentist office from Bentonville and a paddleboarding business from Bentonville, as well as churches. We have a few churches who serve regularly once a month.
Okay, so regularly is once a month a commitment. Mm-hmm. And so how frequently are you at the hotel?
We are there every Tuesday.
Okay.
As advocates, the advocates are there every Tuesday.
Right.
Yeah, different.
So you all are there every Tuesday.
Yes, sir.
Okay. And so what sort of things, I know there are things in addition to the meal that are offered. Can you talk a little bit about that?
In addition to the meal, whatever organization is there serving, we also have us as advocates who go and get to know the community that actually lives there. A few of us advocates actually mentor as well. And then we have a donation aspect from other businesses within the community. Since it's Bentonville, there's plenty to give. And so there's that. We also have liaisons who are with an organization called Hark, and they come and they make sure that we are talking about all resources that are available within Northwest Arkansas for them.
And you said it's called Hark, H-A-R-K, and tell us a little bit about them.
They're essentially social workers in the community. That wasn't their original intent. I think their original intent was just to connect people with resources, like that people in need with resources within the community. But they essentially, I think, kind of turned into social workers, and they meet with people. They have a housing assessment they do to help people. It ranks them on their need for housing.
They
housing
have
status.
a process.
Yes, yes.
Okay, in a network where they can plug a person into a particular opportunity.
Right. Once they have funding and stuff for housing people, they do that based on the number they score. Then they can set them up with Medicaid, SNAP, and whatever the needs are. They can do that.
So it sounds like they have a pretty comprehensive way to evaluate the needs of an individual person that you're ministering to.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah. And I mean, they just kind of walk through stuff with them. I mean, just be honest with people about their situations, because I mean, like I met with one the other day, and, just like, listen, I can't fix the situation you're in, but I can help you, with connecting you with resources and stuff like that.
Okay, so I want to go around the table, and Richie, why don't I start with you? I'd like you to talk to me about your favorite encounter. Tell me a little bit about the encounter, and also talk to me about the progress that you've made so far.
Okay. Wow, I have many. Let me just, before I go there with my just one particular encounter, I just want to say that every encounter is an amazing experience. And I think one of the most amazing things again is when I see these children out there. The children are there, and there's children serving children, and just the heart between the two of them. They're on two different ends of a spectrum there. However, when there's that food in between them there, and they just have that heart and that connection of kids, and I just love that. So I just wanted to start by saying that. But I'm going to have to say the most impressive encounter that I've been engaged in currently is that I've been working with a family, and all three of us have kind of been engaged with a particular family, but I've been mentoring the husband a little bit more, and just by doing those things and getting to know, taking the time to get to know him and understand him, where he came from, what his lifestyle was like. There are many things involved. I'm able to give him a little bit of work because people are reluctant to hire him. I drive out there, and then sometimes I take him to go see, whatever it may have to pay a fine or a parole officer or whatever it may be. And I think that's just working with the families, but particularly the men in the group is a very strong point for me. Just because I'm able to relate some of my own situations into their lives and understand and get to help them with theirs. And so to watch them grow has been a good thing. And this gentleman in particular, he started performing. He always told me he liked to write, and he likes to do poetry. And it's just an amazing thing. You wouldn't think it if you saw him. So I gave him a speaker that I had, my old guitar PV amp, and he got a microphone, and some Tuesdays he brings it out there and he performs for the group. And so he's taking his steps, but that's what it is. It's just one step at a time. Yeah. So that's probably my most memorable experience with that, with serving. Yeah.
And so when you engage with an individual or a family like that, you just engage with them as long as they need you there. Yeah.
I don't think our engagements ever stop. I think they may have an opportunity to make a decision if they want to continue to contact us or not. But I think we're always, what I find to be is that our heart always needs to be open. Our phone lines need to be ready, and we need to be prepared at any time to be able to help.
Brandy, why don't we go to you? What's your favorite experience so far?
I think that, like Richie said, there are quite a few favorite experiences, and they never seem to stop. God definitely shows up and personally blows my mind every time I think, what are we doing? And then he's like, hey, this is what you're doing. And we had this one young man who was trying to clean his criminal life up. He was going through the system and all of that. He has a pretty strong drug addiction. And to connect that with my life, I did as well for quite a few years. I can have sympathy, but also know that you can get out of it if you want to. And so I'm kind of a little less sympathetic when they're like, well, you just don't know what addiction's like. And I'm like, yeah, I do. And I know that you can make a choice and that you can quit. And so this young man struggles with his addiction, but we were able as a group to meet with him, mentor him, show him that there is actually hope for another lifestyle. We were able to show him how to do that. He cleaned up his record. He got a consistent job for a time being. He was able to obtain a vehicle.
But it's still day to day, in that it's going to be day to day.
It actually is day to day. And sadly, he's fallen, but we're still there for him.
Yeah.
And that's my favorite part about it is even though he fell back into his addictions and he feels like there may not be hope, he knows that we're here available to talk with him and show him how to do it again if he decides to make that choice.
Yeah. Well, in life, I mean, how many times do we take 2 steps forward and 1 step back? I mean, that's just part of life, isn't it? What difference does it make for him that you can relate to where he is?
I think that he knows that I'm not going to judge him, but I'm also not going to let him tell me that there's, he can't help it. I know that he can.
You're going to hold him accountable.
Yes.
Okay. And he's at point A and you want him to go to point B and you just keep pointing to point B, don't you?
Yes.
Okay. That's wonderful. All right, Shay, how about you?
We've housed a couple of families, and those are always highlights.
So when you say house them, what does that mean?
I mean, we've met them at the hotel and connected them with resources, got, their lives kind of turned around, and then paid those initial deposit fees and utility fees
so
they couldn't afford. Yes, sir. We've got grants that we can pay for those things to pull them out of there. And so then found housing, and Hark has assisted with one of those also through some of their grants and stuff like that.
That's Mercy.
Yeah. And Mercy. Yeah. That's always amazing to see that happen. But God has placed a gentleman in my life that, goodness, y'all. Okay. That he struggles with mental health issues. He was raised in severe poverty with abuse. And he held down a job for a long time, and several years ago, his car broke down, and he lost that job and never could secure another job. And so he flies his sign on the side of the street begging for money. I mean, we just have had an instant bond since we met. So yeah, I mean, funny thing is he has back problems, and my husband happens to be a back specialist, which I think is a kind of a God thing. And like I said, he struggles with severe anxiety, which is a struggle of mine. So that connection just been, I can talk him through it when he's getting anxious and about things. And he calls me all the time. I feel like he's like my best friend these days. And, he doesn't have family to talk through things with. He doesn't have anyone but one friend, and she's not a good influence on him. So, if I can be that positive influence and that light in his life, I'm all there.
And it sounds like he's ministering to you also.
Right? Yes.
and how often when we get involved in this, looking to help somebody, do we find some answers for ourselves also?
That's the way it works.
Absolutely.
That's it.
Okay. Well, beautiful.
Yeah.
Tell me a little bit about your plans and your needs going forward.
Well, our plan going forward is to just be there every Tuesday still. And even if it's not that location, at some point we will still be invested in the community regardless. We've just committed there for the rest of the year.
Now, you mentioned, Shay, you mentioned Mercy. Tell us about Mercy and their involvement in all this.
Well, that kind of goes back to the original ministry. Child Advocacy Center, Restoration Village, and Mercy are a few of the original people to start the 8th Street Hotel ministry. And by visiting with them at the 8th Street Hotel, it is just a beautiful will that they had created as far as, getting to know the landowner and serving and, helping people out of there. So after meeting Sister Lisa with Mercy, just kind of mentored under her for a little bit to see how it works. And she gave us guidance. Her and Natalie Tibbs were able to give us guidance as far as how to start the one in Bentonville. And then after that, there's still huge financial backers in a way. If we ever need them to sponsor a meal, they're willing to do that. They're also a great resource as far as medical needs, letting us know how the system works. Mm-hmm. They're also able to receive the grants that people want to give and delegate that for us. And they're just a mentor group in a large way for us.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Now, outside of these two ministries, are there other ministries like this in Northwest Arkansas that you're aware of?
We've heard of a few, but not totally.
Okay. But there's probably a need for that. Mm-hmm. So it sounds like you're at the current location, but it's not necessarily absolutely for certain that you'll stay there. You might have to go to a different place.
Right.
The manager there, she's talked about, all things are going up, in Northwest Arkansas, all prices are. And so she's talked about raising their hotel prices, and once the hotel prices go up, then people are going to be moving out, and those that are in need will be spreading out to other hotels that are cheaper. And so if we need to go find those situations, we will, if they get too high at this hotel.
So if a listener's out there right now and they'd like to get involved or get to know you or see the ministry, what's the best way for them to do that?
Well, first of all, they're always welcome to reach out to us. Our email is wefeednwa@gmail.com. One of us will respond through that. And then being involved, there are a few aspects. Mm-hmm. Yes, we do have a Facebook page as well, We Feed NWA.
Okay, and we'll make sure that we get those on the show notes.
Awesome. We are looking for advocates, somebody who's willing to be there every Tuesday. And we can meet a little more personally on what that looks like for a person. We're also looking for mentors because once we engage with these families, they need somebody to walk alongside them regularly.
How many mentors do you have right now?
3, 4, 5.
Okay. And how many would be a good number to have?
100.
Yeah.
100.
Richie said 100.
Okay.
That's where
Let's just
we're
aim
going to
high.
get. Yeah.
Okay, so a lot.
Yeah.
All you can get.
Yeah, because becoming a mentor is kind of a life experience,
Mm-hmm.
And once you become a mentor, you could, but you may not be able to mentor other families. So, we're consistently meeting a lot of new people all of the time. And so,
And the reason why I say that number 2 is just because of the fact that, it's projected like within the next 5 years that this area is going to increase in population about 500,000. And so, if we continue to grow and develop, having some of these smaller businesses reach out to us, connect with us, get us some assistance, in different ways, even if it's just to provide food for that time being. You don't want this growth to happen so fast and we can't keep up with that pace. And then all of a sudden it become overshadowed because the state of Arkansas itself, has a high rate, of people who are hungry. Northwest Arkansas, I think alone has probably, 138,000 children, so, it's just something that we're looking forward to. So, we are small right now working, but I personally, and I'm sure the ladies share this as well too. My heart is to see this thing grow, and I would love to see that it become a daily thing, and see different people involved with us in different locations in different areas, so we can strategically or tactically, plant these seeds, and then people have a place to go in different areas. So.
Well, and you're definitely filling a need, and you're looking for more like-minded people to help you with this ministry. Mm-hmm. It's beautiful. Yes. Okay. Well, we will have all the contact information within the show notes. All right. So we're going to go to the lightning round a little bit here. So I will go around the horn. I've got 2 questions today. The first is, and Randy, we'll start with you. Mm-hmm. What's the best advice you've ever received?
My motto is to just not let your past define you.
Okay. Oh, that's good advice. Mm-hmm. Richie, how about you?
one day at a time.
Okay. I love these. They're short and concise. Shay.
I say this to my kids every day. Treat others the way you want to be treated.
I love it. It sounds like you've all come by these with good reason. Last question I have. So what would we find you doing in your free time, away from your ministry or away from your day-to-day work?
There's really no such thing. This is my free time. I have an occupation, and I have 3 children and a husband and a family who loves to meet for family nights and go to the lake. And I mean, my free time is focusing on anything besides myself, investing in other people and seeing how they can be helped. That's my free time. That's what I love to do.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Richie?
Yeah, so my free time is just another growing experience for myself. I'm really just learning how to pray, be consistent with it. I'm learning how to listen better. I'm spending time working on balance. Balance is important for me. I have a very strong work ethic, and sometimes it can overshadow the things that I need in my life, like family. And so, that's pretty much what I'm doing in my free time right now.
All right, Shay.
Okay. Free times with my family. Yeah. And then, like Brandy said, volunteer work. I mean, this ministry, I do work with Circle of Life and also with Meals on Wheels. So just giving back to the community. Yeah.
Well, it sounds like you're all super busy, and you found that ministry that really balances out your life, and the joy. I mean, I wish our listeners could see your faces and just the passion that you have for this. So, thank you so much for joining us today, and thank you for tuning in to Wonderful Life. And remember, the only thing that you can take with you is that which you give away. This is Tom Rohr, the richest man in town, signing off till next time.
This is the Padua Podcast Network. PaduaMedia.com.